nobody saw this coming. Everything you thought you knew about the hostage situation at Windermere is about to be flipped upside down. We all knew Ross Cullum was living on borrowed time. The guy has been a walking target for weeks, manipulating the board and pushing everyone to their absolute breaking point. But if you thought Valentine Cassadine was going to take him out, you are dead wrong. If you thought Carly Spencer was going to deliver the fatal blow to save her family, think again. And Cassius Faison? Not even close. Guys, the person who finally ends Cullum's reign of terror is the absolute last person anyone expected. It is Josslyn Jax. And the way it happens is going to change the entire landscape of Port Charles forever. Let us rewind and look at how this domino effect actually starts. Because nothing in this town happens in a vacuum. Right now, Josslyn and Liesel Obrecht are rotting in a makeshift prison cell at Windermere. The tension is absolutely suffocating. Every single day, Cullum has been tightening the screws, playing sick psychological games and threatening them with fates worse than death. The damp walls of Windermere are closing in on them. But that is not even the biggest problem. The real nightmare begins when Cullum gets new intel. He realizes the walls are closing in on his operation. He knows Valentine and Carly are plotting a massive rescue mission. So Cullum makes a split-second, desperate decision. He is going to move Josslyn and Liesel to a secondary black site location, a place where nobody will ever find them. But wait, it gets worse. Josslyn overhears this terrifying plan. She knows exactly what a location transfer means in the criminal underworld. If Cullum gets them out of Windermere, they are as good as dead. The clock is officially ticking. It is no longer a waiting game. It is a desperate fight for survival. If you ask me, this is the exact moment Josslyn shifts from a terrified hostage to a cornered animal. She realizes that no knight in shining armor is going to burst through the door in time. She has to save herself. And then everything spiraled. While Josslyn is having this horrifying realization inside, total chaos is breaking loose outside. Valentine is risking his own freedom, reaching out to his mysterious contact Z to orchestrate a raid. He is putting everything on the line. Carly is completely losing her mind, staging her own reckless break-in at Windermere that we already know is doomed to fail. These external forces are crashing into Windermere's defenses, creating a massive, chaotic distraction. Cullum's guards are scrambling. The perimeter is breached. The alarms are blaring. The fortress is falling apart. This is where things get incredibly messy. The chaos outside creates a split-second window of opportunity inside. Cullum bursts into the holding cell, completely unhinged. He is screaming, waving his weapon, trying to drag Liesel and Josslyn out through a secret escape route. The guy is totally losing his grip on reality. A brutal physical struggle ensues. It is pure, unadulterated panic. And in the middle of this violent, confusing brawl, a gun gets knocked loose. Guys, this is where it gets interesting. The gun slides across the cold stone floor. Cullum does not see it. Liesel is too weak to reach it. But Josslyn sees it. She dives for it. Her hands wrap around the cold steel just as Cullum overpowers Liesel. He puts a gun directly to Liesel's head, screaming that he will execute anyone who tries to stop him from escaping. He is not bluffing. You can see the absolute murder in his eyes. He is 1 second away from pulling the trigger and ending Liesel's life right then and there. Josslyn has no choice. She does not have time to think, to reason, or to negotiate. She raises the weapon. Her hands are shaking, her heart is pounding out of her chest, but her aim is steady. She pulls the trigger. The gunshot echoes through the damp halls of Windermere like a cannon blast. Cullum takes the hit, a fatal, devastating blow. He collapses to the ground, dropping his weapon, his grand escape plan completely shattered in a fraction of a second. Josslyn just did the unthinkable. She just took a life to save a life. But that is not even the biggest surprise. Because right at that exact moment, the heavy oak doors of the dungeon are kicked open. Valentine and Carly finally smash their way into the room. They came ready for a war. They came ready to tear Cullum limb from limb, but they are too late. They freeze in their tracks, absolutely stunned by the bloody scene in front of them. Cullum is bleeding out on the floor. Liesel is gasping for air. And Josslyn is just standing there, frozen like a statue, the smoking gun still clutched tightly in her trembling hands. The smell of gunpowder is heavy in the air. What happened next may be even worse. Cullum is dying. The life is literally draining out of him on the floor of Windermere, but he is not going out quietly. With his final agonizing breaths, Cullum starts talking. He starts confessing, but he is not just apologizing or listing his crimes. Oh no. He starts dropping massive, explosive secrets about the underground syndicates operating right under everyone's noses in Port Charles. He mentions names, shadow organizations, and hidden agendas that go way beyond his own petty revenge plots. He dies with a wicked smile on his face, knowing that the information he just leaked is going to start a massive gang war. And that changes everything. Cullum is dead, and the nightmare at Windermere is technically over. Josslyn is immediately hailed as an absolute hero. She saved Liesel. She saved herself. She did what neither the police nor the mob bosses could manage to do. But guys, the psychological damage is already done. Josslyn is completely traumatized. She is haunted by the feeling of the recoil, the sound of the blast, and the sight of the life leaving Cullum's eyes. She crossed a line that you can never uncross. Carly is terrified for her daughter. She knows exactly what taking a life does to a person's soul. Sonny Corinthos is immediately stepping in, discussing strategy with Rick Lansing, trying to shield Josslyn from the legal fallout and the mental breakdown that is inevitably coming. Even Valentine, a man who has seen more death than anyone, is trying to help her process the absolute horror of what she was forced to do. They are all rallying around her, trying to pull her back from the edge of the abyss. But you have to wonder, is it too late? Has the innocent Josslyn we all knew been destroyed forever? This is not just the end of a villain. This is the birth of a completely new character. Josslyn is no longer just a victim waiting to be rescued. She is no longer the girl who needs Sonny's guards or Carly's schemes to protect her. She took matters into her own hands and fundamentally altered the balance of power in Port Charles. She is a game changer now. But at what cost? The blood on her hands is not going to wash off easily. Let us dig deeper into the absolute chaos that Cullum's final words are going to unleash. Because this is the part that is going to keep us all awake at night. When Cullum spilled those secrets on the Windermere floor, he basically handed Valentine and Sonny a ticking time bomb. The underground organizations he mentioned, they are not just random thugs. We are talking about highly organized, deeply entrenched criminal networks that have been quietly pulling the strings while everyone else was distracted, while Harrison Chase is busy arresting Tracy Quartermain, and while Brooke Lynn is framing Willow Kane in some petty rivalry. A massive criminal empire is operating in the shadows. Cullum was just a pawn in a much larger, much deadlier game. Think about Carly's perspective in all of this. She risked everything to break into Windermere. She was ready to throw her own life away, risking being thrown into the hostage area herself, just to get her daughter back. And when she finally breaks through those doors, she expects to see a rescue. Instead, she sees her daughter holding a murder weapon. The guilt Carly must be feeling right now is astronomical. She brought this dangerous world into Josslyn's life. The mob ties, the constant danger, the endless cycle of violence, it all traces back to the life Carly and Sonny built. And now Josslyn has paid the ultimate price by losing her innocence. Carly is going to spiral, guys. She is going to tear herself apart trying to fix something that is permanently broken. And what about Valentine? He offered to sacrifice himself. He was ready to face the music, to trade his freedom for Josslyn's life after that emotional conversation with Charlotte. But Josslyn beat him to the punch. Valentine now owes this young woman an unpayable debt. She saved Liesel, the woman Valentine deeply respects and cares for. The dynamic between Valentine, Liesel, and Josslyn is going to shift dramatically. Liesel is a tough survivor, but almost being executed point blank by a maniac like Cullum is going to leave massive psychological scars. She witnessed a young girl commit murder to save her. The bond forged in that dungeon is going to be unbreakable, but it is built on a foundation of pure trauma and spilled blood. Here is where things get even more complicated. What happens when the Port Charles Police Department gets involved? The police are already up to their necks in drama. Now they have a dead body at Windermere and a young woman claiming self-defense. Will the ADA try to make an example out of Josslyn? Will Justine Turner use this to strike a blow against the Corinthos family? Sonny is going to call his legal team immediately. The legal cover-up, the intense interrogations, the massive media circus, it is going to be an absolute nightmare. Josslyn is going to be dragged through the mud, forced to relive the worst moment of her life over and over again in a cold interrogation room. The internal struggle for Josslyn is going to be the most compelling television we have seen in years. She has always been the one pointing fingers, judging the mob lifestyle, trying to stay above the violence of Sonny's world. But now, she is the violence. She is the one who pulled the trigger. Every time she closes her eyes, she is going to see Cullum falling. Every time she looks in the mirror, she is going to see a killer staring back at her. How does she reconcile her past ideals with her current reality? She cannot. The old Josslyn is dead. The new Josslyn is forged in fire and blood. But that brings us to the ultimate question. Cullum warned them with his dying breath. He told them about the shadow organizations. He told them the real threat was not him. If Cullum was just the opening act, who in the world is the main event? The organizations he named are going to realize their secrets have been compromised. They are going to come looking for the people who heard Cullum's final confession. Valentine, Carly, Liesel, and Josslyn are now walking targets for an enemy they cannot even see. The nightmare at Windermere might be over, but the real war is just beginning. Who is going to strike first? And who is going to pay the ultimate price when the shadows finally come alive?
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.